Good morning. This is Angela with a cup of tea on Monday, August 28th, 2011. It is a beautiful morning in North Carolina today. We had Hurricane Irene come over the weekend and it cleansed everything, and the air was just beautiful and crisp and clear. So I have the window of my office open, and we'll see if any birds decide to come by and add their 5 cents in. But if you hear any voices, any noises like that, then you'll know. So today's topic is it can be challenging for us to look at. It's talking about expectations and regrets. As we are going through this absolutely amazing time and we're going through this huge transformation, it's time for us to clear out our closets in many respects. So the individual spiritual journey is just that. It's very individual, as I've said. And what's right for me might not be right for you, and vice versa. And, all different people, different journeys. But what's really important is the more we can clear ourselves to tie into our larger consciousness, to tie into that spark of divinity within us, the clearer and the easier and the more grace we'll have on this spiritual journey to enlightenment, regardless of what our individual journey is. So I guess we're going to be going through some of the negativity that we might have buried down. And, regrets tend to be those things that we bury deepest down in the closet, that skeleton in the closet thing, but in a different perspective, because we don't like to look at them. They make us feel badly. They make us think, what if? And we don't like doing that. However, we're going through this period of cleansing and clearing and coming back to ourselves and coming back to love and connectedness and all that. So to do that, let's start with the things that are deepest and darkest. And the regrets tend to be there. What happens when we do that and dust them off, bring them to the light, and look at them and ask, why is it that I regret this? Many times it was because we had certain expectations tied to what the outcome of whatever that particular event was or wasn't. Or we'd make a different choice because of certain expectations that didn't work out, because of certain things that we were blind to at the time. So we tend to not want to look at them because, like I said, it makes us feel badly about ourselves, like we made a poor choice, or there's something that we weren't intelligent about or smart about or whatever. Or if only I had done this. So the key here is to pull up that regret and say, why is it a regret? Why do I regret it? And if you have in your head, if I would have done this, or if I would not have done this, then say, what if I had, or what if I hadn't? And play it out in your mind, or write it down if you want. But play it out so that you look at it and say, well, from the whole point of view, without just putting it up on like a pedestal or give it some, glorified aura, because every path we take has lessons, regardless of the path we choose. So if you play it out, some people say we play them all out. Some people, and sometimes, depending on what your individual perspective is, many believe, and I believe this to a certain degree too, that a lot of the major choices that we make or we don't make break off into separate sort of realities, sort of dimensions. And we have all of these us's out there doing all these experiences in different ways because that was the way we chose to do it. Except that our consciousness is like focused here right at the moment. So that's a whole very convoluted, complicated topic and discussion for another day. But we're focusing right now on this path here that we're on right now and in this place. And if we say, okay, let's play this out. If this would have happened, what would I not have done? What would I have missed had I actually taken that other choice? And many times there's a lot of blessings in disguise. One of the best movies that talks about this is a movie called Sliding Doors, and I don't know if I've brought it up here on the webcast before. I know I've brought it up in my discussions, spiritual discussion groups and stuff, because it's a wonderful story And it talks about a woman who, I believe she gets fired from her job, and she's leaving, and what happens in this very beginning of the movie, it splits off into whether she catches the subway home or whether she misses it. And then the whole movie plays out with these two parallel timelines, and you have to figure, I guess the viewer figures out which one ends up being the best one. And not necessarily one has to be more better than the other one, but I think the point is you're looking at one that's saying, okay, that would have been far better, that was like the far better timeline. But then actually at the end you're looking at it going, well, wait a second, the other one, even though it was more painful and she had to face a lot of things in sort of a little more of an ugly way, it seems to have turned out better the other way. But we have lessons no matter what timeline we choose. We have lessons no matter what we choose to do. So if we have a regret, the key is to say, what have I learned because of the path that I have chosen? Now, many times when you actually dust off the regret and look at it, it's really not as big as you thought it was, because what was happening was you were hiding it down deep within yourself, and you're giving it energy because you're afraid to look at it. What's really funny, because it's another way people talk about, well, if I don't look at it, then and I'm not giving it energy, then it doesn't exist, because of the fact that us creating our own existences. But actually, if you're forcefully not looking at it because you're afraid of it, well, guess what? Now you're giving energy to fear. So it makes it bigger, actually, in many respects. So if you take it out, dust it off, look at it in the light, and say, okay, this was a deep regret. It made me really angry with myself, made me feel badly about myself, made me feel badly about another person or another group of people or the whole situation, and I have held on to it and held on to it. And why am I holding on to it? What did I learn by not choosing that path? What did I learn by taking that path instead of another one? And had I taken the other one, what would I not have learned? What would I have missed? And many times, if it's something that's true to your heart, because sometimes there are things that we regret because we feel like they are true to our heart and they are true to our soul, and that we didn't choose that path. We feel like we've neglected ourselves, and then we feel like, well, we hurt ourselves, or we're not fully happy, we're not fully able to come to ourselves. But many times, and in reality, if we look at that, we choose our experiences. Well, we chose that choice because we wanted this particular set of experiences, and we wanted to learn these lessons. And sometimes you can go back and look and say, well, you know what? I can actually go back and do this now. And guess what? Then your regret goes away. And then if you try it now, because you have all these other lessons underneath you, then in many cases it works out for the better, and your heart then does expand and remember its song. So there are a lot of ways of looking at it, and it's touchy, because regrets can cause a lot of anger and a lot of negative emotions, and we bury the regret underneath those other emotions. So the key is to look at it honestly, because who's on the journey with you except yourself? And yes, we're all on it together, but it's all the lessons that we are learning and we're clearing out so that we can recognize the lessons and the experiences that we have, so we can get to the next level of evolution and enlightenment and existence in a much more loving and connected way. So stop being afraid of them. Stop being afraid of the regrets. Pull them out. I'm still doing it. In fact, I found a few that I've come across, and I look at them and saying, well, from the way I've seen how things go, I see that I'm going to actually be able to revisit this, or this will come back around. Very important. We are the ones in control, and if we let go of the expectation of, well, I want things to go this way, so therefore it must go this way, and I must take this path. Sometimes there are things that we just don't see, that, again, the pawn on the board versus, the pawn on the board, I've talked about in the past, a lot of times our ego And what we're seeing from this 3D existence is, being the pawn on the game board, when our higher self is not only the player that can see the whole game and see the way all the roads go, but also the creator of the game and the creator of the idea of the creator of the game, and all. You can keep on going up. So keep that in mind this week, and I want you to pull out those regrets and write them down. And it might be painful, and there might be tears and anger and whatever, but pull out some of the stuff that is the deepest, and then look at why and what you have learned and who you've become because you made the choice you made instead of what you regret that you did or didn't do. And now revisit it and say, hey, can I do that now? And if this is something that would still make my heart sing, how can I come back around to it? Make it productive. So on that, I'm going to let you go. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you Thursday. This is Angela with a Cup of Tea.